Today, we shall broach the subject matter of global architecture in the search that began in Mexico of styles, trades, building materials, and the like that are similar in places that they should not be, places that have maybe had no overlap. Now, of course, it's the world. People move from one side to the other, and styles and trends get carried, and trade happens, and of course, some of this is to be expected. But is there enough merit to what we're told to adequately explain, should one be a stranger to this land, would they believe these stories? It's a very long-winded way of saying, I don't believe history. And it should be pretty obvious by now. I normally don't dive into or pretend to have some knowledge about nations and places I've never been, but in some case, there is reason to know the area about which you're going to dive into pictorially. But I believe that to explain some of this region, this needs to be talked about. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole history, only the parts that pertain to what I feel are influences on the culture, important context clues. So settle in. Here's Pakistan. You've got the Indus River here. It's the principal waterway. Headwaters are here in the Himalayas here, Tibet. And it flows northwest and Kashmir through Gilgit-Baltistan before turning south and goes the whole length of the nation. It's about 2,000 miles or so. And this great river gave birth to one of the world's first great civilizations, the Indus Valley Civilization. You may have heard of it. Now, the course of this river has changed, that's what they say, and they think this is because of earthquakes and other shifts of the land. And today it's dammed here at the foothills of the Himalayas at Tarbela. And these Himalayans themselves have had a pretty important historical effect on Pakistan and actually the whole subcontinent. They capture winds that are these sort of wet winds that blow in from the Arabian Sea, and also winds from the Bay of Bengal, and that creates rain and it irrigates the region. And in the winter, they block the cold winds from the North and Central Asia, so they keep the subcontinent pretty mild. Then you have spring melt-offs, which provide all the water. So historically, the Himalayas have a pretty dynamic effect on the area. And they also form this barrier that protects the region from the incursions of outsiders, like with the exception of several notable passes, which are chokeholds in the nation, and they're key transit points throughout all of history. You got 4 provinces here. Punjab being the most populous, the most developed, and the most famous, probably, arts and crafts. And it's essentially the cultural capital of Pakistan. And the capital of Punjab, Lahore, is linked to many of the events and the movements in this nation's history. It's bristling with monuments and buildings and architecture and great historical note. Throughout the province, there's forts and there's mosques and palaces, and there's other grand edifices that we are told show the importance this region has long enjoyed. So the area gets settled and agriculturally exploited around what we're told is 6500 BC. Agriculture comes from the west. The first farming villages appear in Baluchistan, which is the area nearest to Iran and Afghanistan. And you got these farming communities dotting the plains. And somewhere around 4000 BCE, allegedly, a new yet ethnic group appears, the Dravidians. They suspect that they came from the Middle East, but their origins are unknown. They're not fair-skinned, they're not high-nosed, they're not flat-nosed, they're not related to Central Asians or Mongolians. And they build these urban centers, and they have 2-story buildings and underground drains and public water supplies and baths, and they've got at least 3 dozen sites that we identify as being Dravidian. Somewhere around 2600 BC, at least 2 of these cities were destroyed by fire, and a new city was built on top of the ashes. But these new ones were different. They were built according to a uniform plan, and the most notable are Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. Mohenjo-daro's edifices were built of mud brick around a central citadel with large blocks dividing the district. Large temple-like structures. They got these pillared public baths, and houses were sometimes massive 2-3-story dwellings with indoor plumbing, complex sewer system, which was the best system until the Roman Empire. And since these 2 cities were discovered in the 1920s, the remnants of many more that were built the same way have been uncovered. And they all have straight north and south, east-west streets, and they're all built on a platform protected by these thick walls fortifications, which we've seen everywhere. So sometime around after 1800 BC, the Indus Valley Civilization starts to decline, the river changes, earthquakes are happening, we think, causing destructive floods. And the same thing in Baluchistan, where all these settlements and irrigation systems were abandoned. And actually, Pakistan is the longest irrigation system in the world. The area was still livable and hospitable, and the reasons for the depopulation are unknown. And so Indus Valley civilization fragments into smaller cultures, and 100 years later, the Aryans show up. And they divide into 3 branches. One goes into Europe, one goes into Iran, and one goes here. Remember, the conquered became inferior people, born to serve. Literally, it was the definition of the word for them. And so Aryan society, this is hereditary. You could move up. You used to be able to move up. This was an open system at first, but over the time, it became kind of fixed. And the knowledge of all this becomes from the Vedas, the sacred hymns, the sacred knowledge, which contains 33 gods divided into groups of 11. Eventually, it kind of Hindu kingdoms that developed in India from the Aryan roots, they kind of held sway over the Indus region, and they maintained that caste system. So Pakistan becomes independent in 1947 because of the large Muslim majority areas in India who didn't want to be dominated by the Hindu majority after the British were surrendering. They united under the notion of a separate homeland, and the struggle over what type of government they should run and territorial strife and ethnic strife has continued to this day between the area that remained part of India and the areas that became Pakistan. Throughout its history, it's been affected by its displacement here at the juncture of basically South Asia, West Asia, Central Asia, and since antiquity, since Alexander the Great, from Persia, from many invaders have came through this frontier, spreading their seeds of civilizations. The armies of Islam come to South Asia through the same mountain pass as the Aryans, as the Alexander the Great. Present-day Pakistan has been shaped by this history. When British India kind of sort of carelessly split up India and Pakistan, there was riots, there was violence, and millions of people displaced, and this led to separate states of Pakistan. And the Britain's last viceroy, Lord Louis Mountbatten, establishing the new boundaries, meant that you had most of the Indian Muslims that were in the Punjab, the dusty plains, or in the humid delta of Bengal. Both of those became known as Pakistan. There was a civil war for who controlled Kashmir, and there was East Pakistan and West Pakistan. But the people were estranged from each other. They weren't just because they shared the same religion. They were very different. Bengal, what's so-called monsoon Islam, was alien to the desert Islam of the West Wing. Bengal has like an ethnically homogeneous collective culture, linguistic heritage, had over half the population of Pakistan, and they contrasted with the ethnic and linguistic diversity of the West Wing, which has 4 major ethnic groups. The political leaders, however, West Pakistanists, claimed that their shared fear of Hindu India would be an indestructible bond. Well, it wasn't. The Bengali politicians felt like they were underdeveloped, and so this led to the indestructible bond breaking into Bangladesh and Pakistan, which is where we're at today, which is why the region shares similarities and why they share conflict. Pakistan is like 97% Muslim. So, yet again, what you have is the colonial power drawing lines on a map to separate groups, not based on geography, and creating conflict. It's having to dive into Pakistan. In some case, but I believe Pakistan to have dive into Pakistan. Obvious by now. Dive into Pakistan. Obvious by now. Dive into Pakistan. In some case, area Pakistan. Dive into but I believe Pakistan to have dive into Pakistan. Obvious by now. Dive into Pakistan. Obvious by now. To Pakistan. In some case, but I believe Pakistan. In some case, to Pakistan. Dive into obvious by now. Pakistan. Dive into in some Pakistan. But I believe that in some Pakistan. But I believe that in some Pakistan. Dive into to Pakistan. In some case, obvious by now. Pakistan. Dive into obvious by now. Pakistan. Dive into Pakistan. But I believe that Pakistan do have Pakistan. Pakistan. But I believe that Pakistan do Pakistan. Obvious by now. Pakistan. Pakistan. In some case, Pakistan. Pakistan. Dive into Pakistan. Obvious Pakistan. Much about nation. Pakistan. Pakistan. Sure. Pakistan. Pakistan. Dive into Pakistan. Pakistan. Do have Pakistan. Obvious Pakistan. Dive into Pakistan. Pakistan. In some case, Pakistan. Pakistan. But Pakistan. Pakistan. But I believe that Pakistan. In In some case, Pakistan. Pakistan. But Pakistan. Downright Pakistan. Obvious by now. Pakistan. Downright Pakistan. Do have Pakistan. Pakistan. But Pakistan. Pakistan. But I believe that Pakistan. Pakistan. Obvious by now. Pakistan. Downright Pakistan. These stories. Pakistan. Pakistan. And with the Pakistan. Pakistan. Obvious by now. Pakistan. Downright Pakistan. In some case, Pakistan. Which Pakistan. Pictorially in Pakistan. Pakistan. But Pakistan. Downright Pakistan. Which about nation Pakistan. Which Pakistan. In some case, Pakistan. But Pakistan. Dive into Pakistan. To Pakistan. To have Pakistan. Pakistan. Is by now. Pakistan. I know Pakistan. Dive into dive into Hello, and hello. So let's see what, And so now we venture forth into new territory and see what we can see. See if the influence is there. See what we can see. That's enough. What you're looking at is a bedspread made by my Aunt Mabel. No, this is a ceiling, a beautifully detailed geometric ceiling on a mosque. You often see this in Iran, and I do not speak a word of Urdu or Farsi or any, fortunately, so I'm not even going to try to butcher the names of some of these mosques. Okay? So there. But that is stunning. And I imagine we're going to see a lot of things that I'm just a little bit clueless as to what they are, you know? You know what I know. I don't know anything already. Like, why would I know what this stuff is? This is the ceiling, the roof of a marble mihrab of a particular sultan. And here you have something a little bit more akin to what we see around the world. These sort of hexagonal bay windows, oftentimes with a mansard style roof or slightly different. These are a little more domed, like a bell dome, more than what we're used to. Damn it, where are my notes? Jimmy! Still on vacation, probably. And here you got your pointed arch. This is a little interesting, your little pointed arch doorway here. And looking as if it had to be patched at one point, but still the ever-present brick. Everywhere you go, brick. And we've seen these sort of waterworks before, flowing in and out of these brick structures. Is it a staffet? Who can tell? From that angle anyway. Not I. This is a bungalow, we're told. And what a striking view. Note the clearly subterranean underground here. And this is looking out from the parapet, I suppose, of the balcony of this fort. Oh, it's actually, you're looking actually from a fort in Lahore, the capital, and you're looking out over the Badshahi Mosque, if I'm saying that correctly. And look, just look, the elephant stairs are that way. Can we go, Mommy, please? Actually, I want to go back to that real quick. I guess I'm not sure if we're underground. I misspoke. That might not be underground because we're actually a little bit elevated up high. Up on the balcony of a fort. And what have we here? But looking very like a mini staffet. This is another fort, Bagzar Fort, in Kashmir. Area that was rather fought over rather intensely by the two sides. Kashmir was. So perhaps it was used as a fort. But I doubt that was its original purpose, as always. I doubt everything. Doubt you're even listening. And, wow, this is another alleged tomb, and it is gorgeous. I don't know why we would make a tomb with such extreme detail and cost and size. Look at all those bricks. God, how many bricks do you think are in that? Gotta be in the thousands, right? And you got your usual little, completely useless just decorations here that you see all over. Everywhere in the world loves a style. They can't get enough. No matter where you go, it's universal. It's like, oh, you guys want this too? My God, I didn't know you guys were into that. Yeah, we're totally into that. How about you guys? And here, a central library. Even here in Pakistan, the libraries are ridiculous. And the urns, and the finials, or more likely, the shape of the pineal gland, and the columns, and stylistically, a little different. The pointed arches and whatnot, but still, you can see the influence is the same. You can see the pronged tower here, looking as if something's a little missing up here. And not a bell, because this is... I mean, so... Okay, so that's the thing. Why does a library look like this? I mean, this could be a mosque. I thought this was a mosque, actually, even though I just told you it was a library. I forgot. I thought this is where they were going to broadcast the prayer call from, but no, I realize it's not. This is a library, and how ludicrous. Like, what's the point of this? Why's a library near that for? You know, these buildings just seem to be so repurposed. I mean, I know I'm beating a dead drum here over and over and over, but that's just how it goes. And that is clearly a massive Stafford. My God, look at that thing. It's really monstrous. I mean, it's too sloped here. If these bastion forts really were for cannonball fire, why would you slope it like that? Would you try to ricochet cannonballs inside? No. Great view, though. The little sconces here. And look, it's a flying saucer. Ooh. Aliens from the outside. From outer space. Be terrified. We're gonna do this. Play a joke on you guys real quick. Oh, yeah, like so real. Oh my God, Jimmy, look at it. It's a flying saucer. In this era in Pakistan, what do they want with us? Please, sirs, what do you want with us? Damn it, I got a little sloppy there. This is a disaster. Bye, alien. Who knows what he wants? There's that same Stafford from the daytime hours, where you can see its rounded Staffordness. Big wide moat, and all the usual things that you come to expect. Look how huge that city is. Good gollywockles. And what would a place on this realm be if you didn't have ruins? Why, ruins are like prostitutes. They're everywhere. Well, not it's a bad analogy, but you get what I'm saying. Look at these brightly colored ruins. Supposedly what you got there in the back there is the... That's not the foreground. In the background is the tomb, and in the foreground you have a mosque. Or what was a mosque. Looking like it's been undergone several stages in its life. Like many of us. And this one looks a bit, this was a garden at some point. That's what I'm told. But I don't know why you would make these sort of, windows everywhere, these pointed arch windows. Unless it was a water feature. That makes sense. A little bricked in area here. It's hard to tell what happened here. You know, every area receives such a unique history narrative that it's really familiar with it. You know, it's hard to spot the flaws, the inconsistencies. And look at this beautiful corridor. My God. Look at the detail in that thing. That's beautiful. Pointed arch doorways seem to be a thing here. And this has got actually several types. But we see this all over. All over. I don't know what they mean, what the symbolism is, or if there is any at all. But it looks fascinating. How funny that Pakistan can go from just something so ornate and richly detailed to just bleh. And this looks like a straight out of Candyland. Another mosque. And I believe that's just brick. It's painted rather wonderfully. And this motif here, this recurring red and white stripe on these towers, is similar to the radio towers of modern times, and similar to the lighthouses of modern times. In fact, these might as well be lighthouses by the look of them. And I think that this is something that we do without even realizing what exactly we're emulating. And I'll get into that another time, but usually these red and white stripes, I think this is an ancient indicator of a transmitter station. And in modern times, we reconfigured them into barbershop poles, for example. And lighthouses, our radio towers are still red and white. Now, we claim today anything of a particular height that might get in the way of an airplane, we paint red and white so they see them during the daytime. There may be some truth to that, but I still believe that the custom started... predates airplanes. I mean, easily predates airplanes. It's not necessarily a good-looking... way to decorate. The red and white stripe is a little jarring, and I think that's by design. I think this is a telltale sign of something that used to transmit energy or power at some point. I can't prove that. That's just a theory. But you see stuff like this, and it's, yeah, kind of cosigns with it. And you see that everywhere, the red and white striped. I got a whole nice thing on that coming up soon. And you got another monstrous, whatever this here is, Bedi Mahal Kalar, I think they would pronounce it as. Looking rather abandoned, I think. And it's hard to say what this was all about. It's hard to say if this was initially all open or what was going on here. Familiar shapes on the top here. Well, I got double, I got double icon, dude. Double icon all the way across the sky. And here again on the top is a closer look at, this is a closer look at what we saw down here. That right there. We're going to go up here, boosh, and we're going to look through it. Look right at it. Just look at it. And what is this for? I mean, what are we building this for? I had to house something at some point. I mean, that'd be something in here. I just think it's just for looks. Or if it is, it's an homage to something that was actually taken in there. Detail in these windows here. Got a little staffet pattern in this busted old vestibule. And here is a rather glorious ceiling. Spare no expense. Get your triple doorway down there. And I only point out things like this, obviously. But what may not be obvious is that we see this same triple doorway on every building from this era, everywhere. This is a mosque interior as well. Although it looks like the inside of a fancy theater or a carnival, I suppose. Wow. This almost pops out of you three-dimensionally, man. That's kind of a trip. I thought these were jellyfish for a second. And you got your little clock inside there looking super out of place with the rest of it. Mosque interior, looking gorgeous. I mean, look at this fan. By comparison, this just looks like the shittiest, cheapest material, and it is. Here is another tomb. Bibi Jivindi, I believe. I should probably just stop trying. But I'm not sure what's surrounding it. What are these? Are these? They look like. Hold on one sec. What is that? It seems like it has almost windows in it. Or just that one does, I guess. I don't know what that is. Hay bales that are just covered in mud, perhaps? I don't really know what's the purpose of these. But that's an amazing building. I mean, that's understatedly all those bricks. Just layers and layers deep. It's incredible. And we do see things like this in Mexico and other places, and often the dome is gone, though, and often these towers, these walls are smashed, and sometimes it's just these sort of standing around with partial walls. But I do recognize the shape. Oh man, Pakistan is just so rich in this stuff, this cultural history. This is a hotel, a very modern looking hotel. It actually looks completely repurposed from a building you'd see in Illinois, or anywhere really. This sort of brownstone look. This one's got this veranda attached, added on. And again, this is another hotel in Karachi. You could probably find something similar just about anywhere you went in the realm. And I suppose you could say, well, yeah, it's just a square building with, arch windows and a banister. True, but in architecture, you can make anything you wanted. You don't have to make things stylistically the same. None of these make an insanely compelling case on their own for the idea that we were once much more united peoples, but together, it's like death by a million paper cuts. Here's an interesting, what they're calling a brick kiln. I don't see how this is a kiln at all, but the brick part I do understand, and I think what's actually more likely is, than this being a kiln, you can see all the bricks here, is that this was a brick structure that was underwater, or maybe wind erosion, I suppose. I don't know where it's at, but it was underwater for a long time, and just gradually got worn away. These posts, they seem very sort of spaced, kind of evenly. It's almost as if they were wooden posts that had rotted out, and this is all just like the imprint, or just it all kinds of turns to mud after it's been underwater forever. They're calling it a kiln because they find all these bricks there, but really this is just like a floor. I don't know if that's actually true. It's just kind of what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like a kiln, unless I don't know what kilns look like, and I thought I did. You got another mosque here. Looks like it's carved out of wood, but maybe not. Maybe it's got all kinds of different parts and pieces. Wonder what that used to have. And out here, another fort. This one looking like it's been through it. I mean, why would you build a fort like that? What fanciness is? What we got an in-house artisan to do this sort of like decorative stripes and stuff? If it's a fort, get out of here. There's a couple artistic types in the army here. They're like, please, sir, let's put a racing stripe on it before battle. And he's like, I guess. This is another fort here. Actually, same one, looks like. And with the exception of this sort of shape of these, this is almost like a little more flowery than what we'd see normally. This could be anywhere. It really could be anywhere. I'm not sure if all of these were open or what's going on there. And again, we have cells in the gardens. These are called cells. And I wonder, since that term is used interchangeably with things like batteries, if there's anything there. This is the Chamba house. And who would ever be able to tell that was a house? I mean, looks just like the library, looks just like every other old world banger. And, it's kind of obvious that, and sad, Pakistan doesn't, in many cases, seem to have the infrastructure, or the ability to upkeep these places. I can't remember the name of these little bandstand type things. There's a Greek name for it, but they are everywhere. And this is a very gorgeous example. The billboard behind it should be ashamed. Just like how polished that floor is. I'd be doing the moonwalk across that mug. You'd have thought I was James Brown. Like a sex machine. And that is quite lovely. More, stack more. What for? Just more. The people love them. You know what that looks like? Well, I'm gonna not tell you what that looks like, Tim O'Brien. That needs to be checked. And here, the clock tower. And the symbolism that we see in other lands, in other places, and mean other things. What a beautiful tower. This strip you could just about imagine anywhere. And we are back inside the interior of the Omar Hayat Mahal. Not a single space undecorated. What a cool thing. The sort of lattice work on this is interesting. Really, this is the kind of stuff that looks like a DMT trip. And it's curious how frequently this shape is everywhere on ceilings and implanted in the geometry of everywhere. If it's not, it cannot be a coincidence. I don't buy it. A little courtyard of this here complex, looking as if the foundation were, I don't know, modified or something? Who knows? Modified. And here's a pointless looking building. Perhaps it's a strange old capacitor in this old power grid, or I don't know. Or maybe not. Maybe it's like an elephant man, you know? Here's his eyes, whatever. And these are his legs, and this is his trunk. And he's all happy. Hey, guy, what's up, guy? Elephant don't have mustache. Even I know that. This is something called Darbar Mahal Bahawal Pur. And what a delicious looking building. My goodness. Look at them bricks. Just look at them. It's so cool. You got the red and white stripe motif a little bit again on this one. And this one looking like it's been a little repurposed. Kinda. The dome almost makes it look like it's like made of hexagonal tile, but this is probably pretty old, this bottom part. This is part of the library, I think. Library and hall. This very gothic building. Doesn't look very Pakistani from my standards. Yes. Although that does. It's the interior ceiling of a mosque dome. There's another library here. So every library's just got to be just over the top and pointless, huh? Otherwise, library's getting kickstarters and funds from people. What are you doing? You make it all triple story and you just wait. It's gonna look beautiful. Will it have books though? Well, eventually. This one's got a little bit of a moat area too, kind of around it. And what with this fountain, you know, just leading me to the water trough that I often drink at. No pun intended. Of what cool domes. Who's the dome builders? Like, who makes these things? Some guys. Must be a lot of them. Another ornate gate. Been a little whitewashed. After, or maybe before it was burnt. Oh, there's their version of the Statue of Liberty with their little pinwheel up here. The four on the outskirts. This one built right into the mountain, and you wonder where the mountain ends and the Stafford begins, you know? You really do. This is a post office. That's right. If you couldn't tell, a post office. Now, what? So, that's pretty ridiculous. It is gorgeous, though. And so why? Why the post offices? Why the libraries? Why everywhere? Well, my opinion is that's part of the setup. You roll in, do an area, you commandeer the best buildings, you put them to your use. This is a giant historical tomb rudely put next to that power line. We just out here trying to do his thing. Quite frankly, it's very rude. Now the red and white, what the hell they're called, the little dome things, and the weird, this here's in Texas. Nah, just kidding. It's the Mortiswala building in Karachi. Well, some of these could easily be passed off as American-made. Strange clock tower view. A little four-pronged tower up here, though. We've seen that before. Look how real. He's really in the window, guys. Trust us. He's really in there. It's not a poster. Looks like special effects I made. Part of the tomb. And I can't even figure out what's going on here other than bricks are being exposed. This is in Lahore. This is the Marketing and Heritage Museum. Looks like a repurposed train depot, if you ask me. Yeah, maybe it was. Like hexagonal tower, a fountain in the center. No strangeties here. And there's another monument. This is, of course, another tomb. You've got the same sort of red and white striped motif, like you see on certain snakes and ceremonies. And this here is a minaret that is in between the lands, contested by Iran. A deer minaret, this one's called. Almost has a little interesting base. And what is the point of these buildings? What is the point of these structures? Those can't just be all monuments to people that are gone. There's a little intricate art here. And we're told this one is a tomb as well. And I don't know why you need a tomb like this, dude. But the little power structures in the corner looks like they're missing some housing. And this is what gives me the idea sometimes that bells are different from what they are purported to be. When I look at old candle like snuffs and those little shapes, little metal caps that you put on a candle to put the fire out. You know, it looks just like a bell to me. So I can't help but wonder if those, that's what they are. They just hang over, they protect something, a quartz or a light bulb or something, and they just happen to also ring, just due to their shape. And so we've just been told that that's what they're for, when really they did something different, sort of like this, which seems to cover and protect like a housing for something that's no longer there. I mean, I don't know why else you would build those. In a struggling nation, often struggling, I should say, how you have the time and the know-how to put domes on everything. This makes no sense. This one also has that same red and white striped motif that we see time and time again. Oh, you get another minaret here with the red and white striped towers galore and just bricks everywhere you look. I mean, we're gonna have to kick this in overdrive here. Speed her up a little bit. There's much to see, and all very ornate, and many of it very lovely. These were... This is like equivalent of a like a YMCA. That's their version of like a YMCA. But this is, it looks like it's been repurposed into some sort of steam tunnels. I mean, I'm not sure what these are. But I did find them interesting, especially the way they go into the ground here. And actually, you can see that the ground itself is actually even brick. So I don't know what this old station was. And out here you got the Panjpir rocks, allegedly, but Tim O'Brien, there's a little bit more going on here than meets the old eyeballs, you know what I'm saying? I think the whole area was kind of a structure, but I can't be certain. Maybe I've just got an overactive imagination. Did you ever think about that? Something about this looks fake as hell. Look at that. I'm surprised I even fell for that the first time. That's not a real picture. And this is allegedly 1860, this picture was taken, of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh Samadhi. I can't verify the date, but I can verify the beauty. There, I said it. This is 1870, a little bit 10 years later, I guess. This is a different, this is with the mosque in the background. Over here, I'm presuming. And look how amazing. Look how amazing here in Pakistan. And this looks like it's straight out of a World's Fair. Straight out of a World's Fair. Now, if I'm being honest, it doesn't look exactly like Mexico, the way we looked at last time, the last country we looked at. There's some similarities, sure. The detail in a lot of these, and some of the urns, and some of the layouts. Is that a person in that window? Looks like a lady with a bag over her head? What the hell is that? But, some of this stuff does look very familiar. And always the one single horse and carriage, just to give it perspective. Man, it always makes you question these. This is supposedly more tombs, and this picture's from 1900. And this is a prayer chamber, just a ho-hum prayer chamber. Really, these fans kind of ruin it. I mean, you probably got to have them certain times of the year. This is inside of a shrine, just a close-up on the texture and the very similar and familiar star motif everywhere you look. And actually, if I look closer, this is exactly what was on that fence post, too. So these are something that, well, pentagons, this sort of geometry, this geometrical art, we do find everywhere, actually. I guess we'll go the other way, eh? Another very fake-looking sky back there. What gives with that? This is what's called Metcalfe's Folly. A little bit of architectural detail, just to show you what looks like an old carnival ride. And I think a lot of that's due to the color that they choose on some of these, but this is allegedly the castle of the Nawab of Dera, looking rather abandoned and rather flooded out. Like this should go another 4 feet down, it looks like 6 feet down even. So that's familiar. This is made of so many things. I mean, what are they just cobbling together whatever crap they found and rebuilding this thing, or did it just fall apart like that? I don't know. The amazing brickwork here on this, to stack it in these cylinders like this, to stack it at such a height is just ridiculous to assume that somehow these people were willing to do this. I don't know. It's so bizarre. I mean, look at the detail in some of these. I mean, and this, for all I know, could be an abandoned ruin. Let's get a kid climbing the window over here. But yet still, the detail, the amount of time it must have taken just to walk away from it just seems nuts. If indeed anyone did walk away from it. I mean, if not, like I said, the maintenance leaves a little to be desired, I suppose. Personally, still can't shake the feeling that these look like somewhat like batteries. And I don't even know if this is all made of terracotta of some sort. The windows all stars. Super cool. Even in this land, this war-torn land, we're told, backwards land, they got this stuff. And this is an example of a city laid out on this grid here, looking very, like a circuit board almost. How about that in this fort? What the hell is that? That's a fountain, I believe. Judging by the fact it's in the middle of the courtyard and it's got this little trough here. I've never seen anything like that, though. And here's this is a fort as well. We're told it's a fort. But you go inside, it looks like this. And are we really putting this much time and detail into a fort? This much art into the fort? Yeah, right. I don't believe it. The monuments galore. There's a ceiling made of mystery and a shed. Calling this a shed. I don't know. That must be some different translation, but whatever this was. Look, and this one's got those brick columns too, but they look broken off. Looks like people just been taking them down. As the spirits of the gods leave these areas, they are left with nothing. A mausoleum here, and the old star motif. And that That is the Prime Minister's Secretariat building. What a looker. Yeah. It's definitely pretty striking. And even though it goes against my theory, well, it doesn't go against it, but even though it doesn't help support it, I'm going to point out that Pakistan and these domes, these bell domes with these little brims, look like little safari hats. It seems to be unique to the area thus far. And for every gorgeous palace like that, there's just a ruin of what was something. Everywhere you look, monuments within monuments. Just very, very peculiar. And as I'm growing tired of the sound of my own voice here, I'm going to go ahead and